All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. As usual, we'll give everybody just a few minutes to join into the webinar. We thank you all for joining us here today. This should hopefully be a fun, interesting discussion. We're really excited to have a special guest with us. As always, I do want to remind you that if you have any questions or you want to join the conversation, please use the Q&A button that's at the bottom of the Zoom screen there. You'll see when it says Q&A. Please use that and don't use the chat. The chat should be off. So Patrick on our end will be manning the Q&A. So feel free to put in some questions. If you have any questions already ahead of time, feel free to put them in now. We can certainly get to them. But yeah, let's just give everybody a few minutes to join. And we're looking forward to getting things started. Okay. So while people are joining in, I'll remind everybody that today's webinar is all about SEO, CRO, conversion rate optimization, keyword optimization on the Shopify platform. We'll talk about some techniques, the tools that we've used, and we'll also talk about with our special guest what his needs were and what we did specifically for his shop. So we'll just wait like a minute more. I see some people are definitely joining in. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A box now, and we'll definitely get to all of them. Okay, we'll just give everybody one more minute here, and then we'll hit the ground running. All right. Well, let's just get things going. Thank you all for joining. Again, appreciate it. Today's topic, we're going to be talking all about one fun topic, a very important topic that a lot of people ask about, which is SEO, CRO, keyword optimization, specifically on Shopify and the Shopify site. SEO is search engine optimization, CRO is conversion rate optimization. It's really about the techniques and the tools that are utilized to facilitate that and to hopefully bring more traffic and more people to your Shopify site. Let's first start with some introductions and give you some background in terms of kind of who we are and who the hosts are going to be and what this is going to be all about. Let's start with the first thing. Who are we? We are Sunrise Integration. We are a longtime Shopify partner and a longtime enterprise development agency in the e-commerce space. Over 20 years, actually should be 25 years now if we want to get very specific here, working in e-commerce. We are one of the original Shopify partners. So our expertise in Shopify and Shopify POS goes way back to, version 1.0 of the platform. So we know it very, very well, and we're always very excited to utilize it and definitely work with different customers on the platform. As I mentioned earlier, this should be fun. We really would like for this to be a live question and answer session. So if you have any questions about anything you're seeing on the screen, please utilize the Q&A button that's here at the bottom of the Zoom chat. And Patrick on our side will be able to jump on that and get those questions and everything answered for you. Let's talk a little bit about the specific individuals who are going to be on this webinar and who everybody is. So I'm going to switch to a different view here. So I'll start. I'm Dean. I'm the CTO over at Sunrise Integration. I'll be kind of moderating everything here, jumping in, trying to keep things flowing. As I mentioned earlier, manning the QA side of things and hopefully answering your questions will be Patrick. I'll turn it over to Patrick for a quick intro.
Yep. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Patrick, Director of Business Development here at Sunrise Integration, and excited to man the QA section here. I see we already have one question that rolled in, so keep them coming, and we'll make sure to either answer them immediately, or I'll let you know if we plan on addressing that at some point later on in the webinar, but we'll make sure to get your questions answered.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. Also on today's webinar from the Sunrise Integration side is Justin. He's our Director of Design and one of the key players in doing a lot of this SEO and CRO work. You can hear a lot from him today. So Justin, I'll give you an opportunity to say hi.
Hello, everyone. As Dean said, I'm the Director of Design here at Sunrise Integration with also 20 plus years of design background. trying to provide my expertise to everyone.
Thank you so much, Justin. And we're very excited to be joined here with Thomas from La Barba Coffee. He's our special guest. We're really going to be talking all this SEO and CRO and everything that we're talking about. Initially, we were thinking like, well, let's talk about that in general, but then we realized, wait a minute, why don't we be very specific? So we're very excited that Thomas is allowing us to open up the hood and look at some numbers. He's very brave, and we appreciate it. But I'd like to turn it over to Thomas, a little bit of an introduction, and just tell us a little bit about La Barba Coffee.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. So La Barba is a coffee roaster we're in Salt Lake City, Utah. Salt Lake in the state of Utah has about 3 million people, so not huge, mostly all concentrated in a small area. We started in 2012 about as organically as you possibly could with a couple of guys playing around, roasting coffee at home, their friends telling them, hey, you ought to sell this. The first bit of sales was, a farmer's market stand, which grew into wholesale locally, which grew into some cafes, um, which grew also into grocery store sales at Whole Foods and a couple of other local stores, and has grown and grown. We have our hands in a lot of different aspects of selling coffee in our area. We started e-commerce technically, I believe, in the last part of 2016 with just a basic Squarespace site, which was easy for somebody to make a nice looking website. Not necessarily the best for actually making sales and growing. We ran that for a couple of years, and switched over to Shopify in 2020 when we saw that there was some room for e-commerce growth. Wanted to see subscriptions develop as well. Obviously, in 2020, that's a good time to be having an e-commerce arm for your business when your cafe is closed down. Had a couple of site builds throughout that time period. Really, we never put a lot of heavy work into our e-commerce, into our website. A lot of it was more set the thing up and assume it's going to work. We did have enough of a local Utah following, along with a little bit based out of probably some of the tourism that's here, to have steady sales and have some um, ongoing revenue from e-commerce as well as subscriptions. And in the last couple of years, though, we've seen that grow, and in the last year or so, I've realized that's kind of the untapped market we need to dig into. We have locally about 3 million people, nationally over 300 million. So there's a lot more available for our business to grow into as we start selling more coffee out of state. As far as our identity goes, that we're trying to get out of state. We are a specialty coffee roaster. We have some incredibly exotic coffees that we're super coffee nerds. We know that coffee nerds love some that are really expensive that a farmer has FedEx air freighted us straight from his farm. But we also want that to be really approachable. Basically, we want my 73-year-old mother in the Houston suburbs to be able to share our coffee with her friends who regularly visit Starbucks and have them enjoy it and it not be something too strange or foreign. So we want to make specialty coffee approachable. And the question, the nut we're trying to crack is how do we do that, not just in Utah, but across a much larger audience. So we reached out to Sunrise, got connected with them a few months ago when we realized there's so much low hanging fruit. There's a lot that, we have a site that's up and running, but there's probably a lot that we need to change. There's a lot that we've not availed ourselves of. And I initially tried with our subscription partner or subscription app Recharge. I tried to start improving it, and I got only a short ways down the road of recharges. Here's how to do this and that, and just ran into some real technical challenges. And as a CEO that's scattered all over, I didn't have the background nor the time to just dig in. So we've worked with some other firms in the past, but have had a great experience so far with Sunrise, and saying, hey, let's capture the low hanging fruit. Let's figure out how to grow in our subscriptions, because that's really, that's the gold standard for lifetime value and seeing revenue come consistently. And that's where we are.
Excellent. Thanks, Thomas. Really appreciate that background. So Thomas's and La Barba is really a great use case, as he mentioned. They've got a presence in Utah, a great local presence. They have actual physical stores, and he's really trying to say, hey, how can we grow, right? How can we now take that that local and turn it into global, right? That's our goal. So it's the perfect use case for some of the different plans that we offer. We call them Shopify success plans, where we have a plan called the Grow plan, the growth plan. And what that growth plan does is we go into the store, we audit it and say, okay, if we're trying to get more of an audience or a larger audience, we have to focus on a couple different things. And that's where it takes us to specifically to the topic that we have for today, which is how do we grow the site organically, right? Let's start there. It's very easy to say, oh, let's spend a lot of money, in ads and things like that. I would imagine, Thomas, that with some of the other agencies you may have worked at, were they trying to push ads on you initially? Right? Was there some a high desire to spend a lot of money on advertising and things like that?
I think with some of those folks, the other agency we've worked with, it's just more on like, hey, let's get the thing up. Here's a site. Let's get some copy. But there wasn't really a strategy. When there was some kind of marketing angle, it felt pretty disingenuous of some here, let's throw in a sneaky tactic here or there. And we've certainly been approached various times about ad spend, and I've always just been pretty reticent, feeling like there's a black hole out there that I could put an infinite amount of money in ads. And before I even think about doing any of that, I want to make sure that the site, that our e-commerce just system and ecosystem is set up to be something that's going to be effective. Because I mean, I can spend a lot of money on ads, but I need to
Exactly.
make sure that that money comes back. And one other
Exactly.
thing, Dean, about our product that really warrants us making sure we're doing this well is because it's a consumable product, and it's not, we're not selling fat. An individual transaction is not a leather jacket that's several $100s. It often is a single bag of coffee. So we actually do need a lot of individual sales, really, to build that revenue. So
hmm Yeah, and I think that's an important point here, which is it's easy to have somebody to say, "Hey, throw a bunch of money at advertising or something like that," right? That's the easy answer, but it doesn't always necessarily make sense. I think from a client slash merchant perspective, Patrick, I think I would say that's probably the norm. Wouldn't you say most people say, "Look, we don't necessarily have a lot of money." That's why, for, at least from the Sunrise side, we like to start with, okay, well, what can we do organically, right? What can
Yeah.
we do first? Is that kind of what most merchants are saying these days?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the 20-year tenure of the rest of the folks on the call, but I'll give myself 10 years in the marketing space and the agency space. And the idea is always you want to make sure your fishing nets don't have any holes in them before you go fishing, right? Like the idea is to make sure that the site is equipped to convert sales that come to your website. Like, are you um, displaying yourself as a reputable merchant? Do they know they're going to get the product that they order from you in a timely manner? Do they know it's going to be quality? Those are all the types of things that you want to focus on really before you want to put any money into paid advertising. Otherwise, as Tom has alluded, there's a infinite black hole. Facebook is always going to accept your money, no matter what the state of your website is. So we try to focus on what can we do to make sure that the site is in the best possible shape, and then growing that organic traffic. So free traffic, essentially. Once you've done the work and you've got a kind of a schedule around copy and content and social media and all these different things, that's sustainable growth right there. And then once you have that proof of concept, then it's always, all right, let's test the waters with some paid ad spend. Because another thing with paid advertising, you're building the audiences that you're targeting off of frequently a set of email addresses and customers that you're trying to reach that are interested in your product. And the more of those existing customers that you've attracted organically, the better that audience is going to be when you're trying to reach them with paid advertising. So yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah, much more motivated audience when they find you organically for sure
Yeah.
versus somebody clicking on an ad. That's definitely a great point. So how do we do it, right? I mean, the obvious question is, okay, well, everybody wants to save some money. So if in the spirit of saving money, you got to do a little bit more work, right? And so that's where this tactic comes in, this growth tactic comes in. So where we'd like to kind of switch gears now is let's talk about what we did, and then we'll talk about how we did it. And this is where I'd like to kind of turn things over to Justin to say, okay, LaBarbara came to us. Sunrise says, "Great, let's put together some kind of a process to help grow, right? Our growth package." And as I mentioned earlier, that includes doing some SEO, doing some keyword research, doing a CRO improvements on the site, design improvements, right? There's a lot of things that we needed to do, and then those are going to yield some results. Now, I do want to say before we jump into this, SEO work, keyword work, and all these types of things is not an overnight process. You can't just flip a switch and tomorrow wake up and say, "Hey, my SEO worked." It takes time. So we have already been working with Thomas and LaBarba now for a couple months to get these processes in place. So everything Justin's about to show you definitely happened organically over the last couple months. This is not something that you can just flip a switch. So if any of you on here are getting approached by some SEO companies or something promising, like, tomorrow that gets you on the first page of Google, that's not true. That's not how this works. That is not at all what these processes are about. It's about spending time organically. Again, if you don't have money, you're going to spend some time, and that's what this is all about. So Justin, we'd love to turn it over to you, and if you could kind of take us through the what of it, right? What did we do for LaBarba, and what were some of those results?
All right. So, kind of starting off at the process of how we kind of work with clients and how we work with the LaBarba, we go in and we assess the site. We start with basically the finish line and work our way backwards. So we're working with the site. We go through the site, and what we did was we worked with the conversion rate optimization. So if you want to start capturing your customers when they land on your site before you start flooding your site with customers that can't complete any kind of purchase or find it hard to purchase a product on the site. So what we started with was the site design, focusing on the conversion rate optimization and some of the tactics that we took through, pricing clarity, upsell, and win back. And then moving into seeing those results start to take place, seeing the sales go through, increases in purchases, products, and starting to see a lot of that organic traffic increase. So kind of going through the basic conversion rate optimization tactics that we kind of took, making actionable, clear call to actions, creating every link as a twofold. It is more actionable towards the customer instead of using generic kind of labeling links throughout the site. If you make those each link unique, have a single title for each link, also helps SEO as it will crawl each one of those links and see them as different. Also, by changing, from a view collection or learn more or something more generic and something that's a little bit more actionable, like shop single origin coffee, it kind of gives the customer a little bit more direction and sends them on a down the purchase funnel. And then adding social proof. By adding in any kind of a social feed, any kind of asset that you can add to show your customers that this isn't just a warehouse somewhere selling product, that actual customers like them are purchasing the product, they're enjoying the product, that they can rely on that trust of people like them to actually make the purchase and help them buy the product themselves. And then also adding a quick purchase or any kind of thing. Anything you can add on the homepage that you can get your customers directly into the product quicker without having to dig deep within it. Usually the rule of thumb is avoid anything that's 3 clicks deep. So by entering in a quick ad, you can find the product you want and not have to keep, going deeper into the site to find it. And then also featuring the subscription products on the homepage. So the primary products that you want to feature the most, surfacing those first landing page for their customers to get it in front of their faces quicker, to teach them what that product is, and then allow them to actually make that purchase without having to go too deep.
Great. So if anybody has ever, for those of you merchants who are on the webinar now, if you've ever heard people talk about conversion rate optimization and you kind of think to yourself, well, what is conversion? Like, what does that even mean? This is exactly it. These are four tactics that the Sunrise team took to increase the conversion, right? The optimization. It's right in the word, where, right? Tactics, things that you can do to help people convert better. So, like Justin said, it's about changing some wording, adding social proof, making it quicker and easier for them to purchase, featuring products, right? It's all about tactics and things that you can do. And that's really the core of what CRO, conversion rate optimization, means. So if you hear that term, right, and before it maybe is a little bit nebulous, this is, what that is in actual practice. It's going to the site, literally going to your theme and making changes, right? Helping it so the customer, when they come to the site, it's easier for them to convert and click through, and which hopefully should lead to more sales. Thomas, I'm just curious on your side from some of these different tactics, what kind of responses have you been seeing or have you been getting from your customers, or have you noticed after these changes on the site?
Yeah, I mean, and let me say that I think for probably almost anybody who's got some kind of business selling something online, in the world that we live in, anybody who comes to your site, they probably already have in their mind five or six other sites, who knows how many more that they could visit, that they plan to visit in order to purchase something. In the case of specialty coffee alone, there's so many other roasters out there. So there's a way in which, if we are not able to convert them, the reality that they're effectively in a colossal shopping mall where they can go to countless other stores, very quickly and rapidly. That's just the reality we live in. So differentiation as a business is really hard in our space of specialty coffee, as it probably is in many others. And so conversion rate optimization, I think, is just all the more important because it's not like you're in a brick and mortar situation in a small town where you're the only option or you're one of two. And so they're going to come in and that's where they have to make a purchase. There's so many other options. So once people are on your site, you've got to be able to actually get them all the way to a purchase. And as far as on our end goes, what we've seen so far, Sunrise, I'll plug you guys, has been great at digging in and showing us the hard data of here's actually what we're seeing. As a kind of scattered CEO who's in several cafes, trying to visit wholesale customers, trying to make sure our finances are good, and also trying to manage this website to some degree. I check our dashboards, I look at the revenue, I see some of the changes and adjustments. And so I'm seeing that improvement. Sunrise is, you guys have made it really great for me to be able to see clearly, like, here's the data that we really want to pay attention to and what matters. And ultimately, for me, is that again, the scattered CEO, the really gut thing that's nice to see is I do end up seeing the email address through which our orders roll in and our subscriptions roll in. And what I've seen in the last season since we've made these changes is I see names that I've never seen before. I see cities or people ordering from cities and addresses that I've never seen before. And that's really what we're after, as well as new subscribers coming in, names I don't recognize, people who might be even first-time customers going ahead and subscribing. So that's the one where I can click and open that email address. I see, hey, we've got a bunch of new customers, and they're not just people who visited the site. They're not just people who've sent an email inquiry, but these are people who've made an actual purchase and are going to try our product. So so far, it's been really good.
Yeah, and that's definitely the goal. Like we said, trying to grow is definitely the goal. Patrick, want to give you an opportunity to chime in here.
Yeah, no, I guess just to so obviously thanks for the kind words, Thomas. But
Yeah.
as far as CRO is concerned, there's so many different angles to approach this. But one thing that really can't be understated is the importance of trust, right? I encourage anybody that I speak with that's either starting out or has some sort of established e-commerce business to imagine they are shopping on their own website. What are the barriers that you might just naturally run into that would keep you from purchasing from them? So it might start as something as simple as like having consistent product photography or product reviews. I think that's one thing that we haven't touched on quite yet, but anything you can do to establish proof that you're a trustworthy organization and that your products are great. That's really kind of at the core of what CRO is, to make sure that you're going to convert those sales. And certainly don't want to bury the lead here, but we talked about how like this isn't about selling a single bag of coffee to any one individual. This is about establishing like long-term relationships and trust, and that makes La Barba just a really solid candidate for subscription. So anybody that's got a consumable product or anything where they can imagine some sort of subscription cadence makes sense. Always encourage people to do that because that's reoccurring revenue, and that's kind of a different tier of customer that you should be focusing on attracting to the website. And Shopify's got great native tools for subscriptions if it's something you're first just kind of trying to trial and do something super basic. And then there's obviously the more advanced subscription tools out there that let you do some really creative things. But yeah, just my 2 cents on CRO. So yeah, trust is critical.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. So continuing the thought here, right? Continuing what we've been talking about here. So what can be done, right? So CRO is one of those things that can be done. So Justin, what else?
Another aspect of it is being able to be, having that pricing clarity. A lot of different products, they'll kind of put like that percent sale off, like subscribe and save 10%, or, sale 20%. And you don't want your customer to have to try to do all that math in their head. If you can just make that price clear, much like we went in and changed that subscription, we just took that 10% off to show you what the final price is to the customer so that they can go in and be like, that's the price that's the price I'm going to be comfortable with. I don't have to think about it. And just being able to show them what that final price is. And then also added the slash, this is what your price is going to be versus what you would have paid if it's just a single one-off product. So this is the actual discount that you're going to get.
And this is definitely a great thing, right? If I'm coming to the site, I want to drink some coffee. I don't want to do math in my head, So if you can just lay it out right on the screen, like, wow, I'm saving. You can see those numbers. I don't have to think about it in my head. Wouldn't have to do anything. This is one of those really simple tactics that really works. It really helps people click the button because they can immediately see, like, wow, okay, great. That's a number that I like and I want to buy, as opposed to like, wait, what's 25% off of this? So simple, easy to use tactic. Justin, what else have we done?
We also utilized upsells and winbacks by integrating the Recharge app into the site much more deeply. We are able to utilize the upsell in the cart. So any kind of single product purchase that is in the cart that would be a discount or would be a subscription, just adding that quick one tap button in the cart to upgrade it to a subscription with that savings on it. And then being able to also add in that flow where the post-purchase upsell or that final cart upsell, but being able to kind of, nudge them towards the subscription to show them the discount that they could get. And then
Mhm.
also using the win back. So offering a discount code to the abandoned cart checkout to show that, we're willing to win you as a customer. We're willing to give you something to get you to make that purchase, to nudge them into returning to the store to make that final purchase of the products that they kind of left behind.
Yeah. Patrick, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, but the abandoned cart is probably, again, another one of those. If you're not doing it, you should do it. Shopify makes it really easy to turn on this feature. But the real secret is to give them a little something, right? It's very easy to just turn on the abandoned cart and say, hey, come back. Okay, great. I mean, maybe they abandoned for a reason, or who knows. A lot of times people will abandon it because maybe they think it's too much, or maybe the shipping is too much, or you don't necessarily know the psychological reason that's necessarily why they abandoned. But if you can entice them with a little something, so it's really kind of a twofold process, which is turn on the abandoned cart feature, but give them a little something, dangle a little extra something to say, hey, if you come back, we'll give you a 10% off, we'll give you free shipping or something. And that's where you're going to see a really, really big difference when you just dangle a little something in front of them. So, Patrick, I'd love to hear from kind of a global sense, and then Thomas, what you're seeing kind of locally from this tactic.
Yeah. Believe it or not, e-commerce is a big industry, and there's published studies on all these different like nuanced tactics out there. And abandoned cart's just one of those like you said, if you're not doing it, do it. Even if you're not going to offer an incentive, have some sort of email set up to go out to abandoned carts. Um, as long as there is some sort of incentive tied to it, typical recovery rate for abandoned carts is going to be anywhere from like 7 to 15%. So if you took a look at your total abandoned carts for the last 3 months, imagine what it might mean to your bottom line to have sold another 10 to another 10% of those by just offering free shipping or some percentage off. That's a huge tactic. And then another thing people don't often realize, there's logic that can be built into these abandoned carts. So as a frequent online shopper, I do tend to go to the same stores that I always buy from and test to see if I can still get the same abandoned cart promotion before I complete a sale. And I know that's something we've talked about here as well. But you can set that up so that the promotion only goes back to new customers that aren't already in your ecosystem. And then maybe returning customers get some other sort of incentive, or you set it up as kind of a 2 or 3 email series where you don't offer that incentive until the second or third email that goes out. So many different tactics that can be explored here, and ultimately the amount of complexity that goes into it should be kind of relative to the size of your total audience and the traffic, where it makes sense to get that nuanced with it. But if you're starting out and you don't have an abandoned cart, like Dean said, set it up.
Yeah, one of those simple ones. I think
Yeah.
this has been pretty successful, man. I know we'll take a look at some numbers in a moment, but Thomas, have you been seeing a pretty good uptick in conversions now that this is active?
Yeah, I think for the most part. I mean, I haven't dug in yet to the details on the abandoned car. What I do appreciate a lot though is you guys were able to help me make sure it wasn't the most hackable of abandoned carts, despite the fact that I admitted that I, had products from another retailer sitting in my cart, hoping they were going to, and so this is set up for first-time customers, which again, going back to this SEO stuff, like that's who I'm after. We've got a lot of really loyal customers whose names I recognize. Some of our fulfillment team even knows their addresses by heart, even though it's all automated in ShipStation. We just see them so much. And it's those new customers that we need to grab. And this abandoned cart setup is for that. And I can click over to our abandoned checkouts, and if you have a Shopify store and look at abandoned checkouts in your orders tab and go down and see the number of them, see when they were, it'll also show you the total dollar value there. And if you start looking down that column of dollars, there's quite a lot of dollars there. So I'm glad that it's something that I'm glad we're now availing ourselves of and taking advantage of in a way that we weren't before.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. So again, these are all great tactics. For those of you on the webinar, take notes. These are definitely things you should be doing. Real simple things as well too, which is great, right? You don't have to pay money for this. You don't have to do anything. You can go to Shopify and turn on a switch almost, and get it going. Justin, let's keep going. What other great things have we been doing?
All right, and by utilizing these tactics and more, being able to see the results that come from that activity, seeing that 28% increase on the subscription products from our time versus last year, and seeing all the growth in even the single purchase products for the store, and being able to see that growth and see that that Roaster's Choice subscription is really taking over that number one spot for product sales.
And that's a pretty great thing to see, right? So this is very much kind of pre and post, right? So this is, sales were happening before we went in and did everything we just talked about, right? So we went in, we did some CRO, we did some SEO tweaks, where we did all this kind of great stuff, and then boom, now we're seeing this, 28% increase, right? So this is all a result of everything that we did for La Barba. Is that right, Justin?
Yes.
Cool.
And
Uh,
and that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see growth in subscriptions, most specifically with that Roaster's Choice. It's tremendous value for our customers, but it's also the coffees that are rotating, that are fresh, that are seasonal, that are exciting, that do, I think, help differentiate us a lot. All for the other subscription products growing, but that's the one that we wanted to grow. So seeing a 28% increase there is incredible. And if you haven't been paying attention or haven't been doing subscriptions, one of the great things about them is there is a degree to which if you have a reasonable churn rate on them, you can look at that monthly subscription revenue and have a sense of confidence that we're going to see that next month as well, in a way that I just don't feel like you can have with your other e-commerce revenue. And so subscriptions are just it's just exciting to have that sense of, okay, here's where we're going. And in the case of what you see on the screen here, like the Roaster's Choice, that's what we were after, and we've seen some great increases. So yeah, thanks guys for that.
Definitely, you're welcome. The numbers are great, right? The numbers don't lie, and this is the exciting about part about all of this is really seeing it come to fruition. Let's keep looking at some more numbers, Justin.
All right. The total sales over time, that red dotted line is when we had launched the revised theme to the with the CRO tactics in place, and then seeing that increase of the average daily sale going up, and that is what we want to see. We want to start seeing more steps going forward, but actually seeing that it did take effect and it did actually go pretty quickly.
Yeah, and this is the great thing, right? You can very clearly see the before and after, right? So, doing all these tactics, doing some of the things that we talked about can yield a result. Now, again, as we mentioned earlier, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but luckily we were able to see some results pretty quickly. But you also notice from the chart, it goes up and down a little bit, right? So making any kind of a changes and expecting all of a sudden for it to stay 28% and never go down, that's not realistic. There's always going to be a little bit of ups and downs and kind of ebbs and flows for everything. But in general, you can see the trend line is marked above from where it was before, and that's a sign that things are right. And then the next goal would be to increase it again and increase it again, right? Start making little goals for yourself and increasing it slowly over time. What else we got, Justin? Some cool, good numbers.
Yeah, going through some of the other activity, we saw a 29% increase in the recharge subscription area and a 9% increase in online stores. So being able to see that conversion rate go up and start trending in an upward fashion, and then also being able to see, kind of gross sales, orders filled, seeing that increase too.
Definitely. Thomas, I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about some of these increases and everything that you've been seeing in the shop.
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting. And what I wanted to say on that last screen, this one as well, but that quick uptick that we saw, I appreciate, Dean, that you're willing to let everybody know that, like, hey, it's not like a silver bullet that it's just then the sky's the limit for you and it's going to happen overnight. But I do think as well, we saw a pretty early uptick because the reality is, I mean, Shopify as a platform, Recharge as well, they're built for really enormous companies and organizations who probably have substantial in-house teams in the realms of like marketing, tech, and everything else. And for a smaller business like us, Shopify makes it easy to get a store up and running, but it's pretty. I would say it's probably pretty guaranteed that if you're smaller, there's probably a lot of some of these kinds of basic things that you're not taking advantage of. There's guaranteed to be some low hanging fruit, and some of that low hanging fruit is stuff that maybe you don't. In our case, I didn't have time to avail myself of. In other cases, it was stuff that I just didn't have the technical ability to know. Okay, what's the best way to implement this? And so I think because you all were able to help us just identify the low hanging fruit, identify the things that we didn't have turned on, the practices that we weren't doing, the tactics that we were not utilizing. I think that's why we saw a really early uptick, and I'm confident that we're going to continue to see that growth. But the reality is, if Shopify were something far simpler, you could build a site and have a sense that, hey, I'm taking advantage of everything that is available here. But the reality is, Shopify is made for really big players, and so the possibilities are virtually endless. And it's really good to make sure you're taking care of the little stuff, and that's made a difference for us here. And there's concrete numbers to show it.
Yeah, great points. Thanks, Thomas. I definitely want to make sure we have enough time to get to the kind of the tools that are used. So Justin, maybe we can kind of quickly talk about these next two stats, which I know are a little bit more about kind of like SEO and keywords, and then we can talk about the tools that we use to do some of this work.
Yeah, so definitely. As we kind of went through the CRO and everything like that, we improved the site, we improved the customer flow, and sales. Really start focusing on the traffic now you're bringing in. So you're going to bring in more and more customers that they're going to land on a well done site and a well done flow. So as we start to see a lot of this start of increased growth in organic traffic towards the site, utilizing some of the keyword functionality and SEO best practices.
Cool. Okay, great. So that's what we did, right? So as we mentioned kind of early on, we have different packages that we work with different clients, and this one specifically is our grow package, where we focus on saying, okay, as Thomas had said, here's a starting point, and I want to be able to grow my business, grow my customers, grow my traffic, grow everything. And there's certain tools that you can use on two sides of things, right? You have to be able to monitor the site. You have to be able to say, okay, well, where am I? What's my starting point? What do the analytics look like? How do I know what keywords are being used, right? So there's a certain set of tools that you need and processes that you need to do in order to accomplish all of this. So we'd like to just spend a little quick, it'll be kind of high level, but we want to talk about the tools, right? What tools do we use to also help you guys kind of spark some ideas in terms of what tools you could potentially use for your site or when you're working with Sunrise, get a benefit of the tools that we use. So let's start with on the CRO side of things, right? So Justin had mentioned that there's all these great things that he went in and did to the La Barba site. And that's really just good old-fashioned doing the work, right? There's no special app or something you install. You just have to know where to go and what to do. And a lot of that is handled right here from within the actual Shopify theme itself. So being on the La Barba site here, for those of you on Shopify, you'll definitely notice this. It's really about going into the theme, right? Going into the theme and really looking at all the different pages that are on the site, looking at the home pages, the product pages, the collection pages, and actually going in and doing the work. So that's part of our CRO process and exactly what Justin has done. Look at all these different, links that are here, right? Is this the right language to use, right? Is this, as we talked about here, is, showing an offer right here on the homepage, right? So this is really about getting in, using the customizing tool, and doing work. So a lot of CRO work and a lot of things that you're going to do for the CRO world is going to be inside of here, right? It's going to be going to these different pages, going to the collection pages. I'll click here again, and doing the work. And you'll see a lot of the different things Justin had talked about are on these specific pages. Once you do the work, of course, you have to be able to understand how it's affecting. And so another tool that we use a lot is GA4, Google Analytics. Shopify has an app in the App Store called the Google YouTube app. That's the simplest way for you to integrate this into your store. If this isn't something you have, definitely go out and do it immediately. Sign up for Google Analytics, install this Google and YouTube app, and now you're going to start getting a wealth of this information. A lot of times, it's kind of funny. We'll have a lot of clients who will say, "Yeah, I think I've got it, and I don't know what it is." And once you kind of enlighten them with how powerful it actually is, there's a lot of fantastic information you can get. So, for example, here for the La Barba site, once we start making these changes, as we had mentioned, it's a process. So every week we go in and we take a look, what are those top pages? What are the pages that people are landing on? And Google Analytics, the GA4, gives you all that information, including a whole host of other information. But one of the most basic things that we do is we look at the charts and graphs and we say, okay, what are those pages, right? What are people landing on? Are we getting them to the right pages that we want? Earlier, Thomas had mentioned that there's a very specific product of his that they really wanted to be able to focus on. And so we use this data to say, okay, are we really getting people to those pages? Thomas.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you were speaking directly to our story. I think I had probably had four false starts with Google Analytics on my own. It seems like they make it just confusing enough that the regular guy can kind of figure it out, but not exactly. So yeah, I was pretty clueless. And yeah, thanks for getting us up on here and enabling us to yeah, again, like another low hanging fruit, take advantage of this thing that's just there that is able to give us a lot of great insight into how our site's working and what we might do to get it to work more and more the way we want it. So don't feel bad if you've had false starts with Google Analytics. It's I had many.
And that's great feedback. I mean, here's Thomas. He is a merchant. He's got a store. He's probably in the same boat as a lot of you on the webinar here. and you heard it straight from him. Like, there's no need to be ashamed or feel embarrassed or anything. There are a lot of these tools. And by the way, these are free tools. Like, Google does not charge you for this, right? There's no cost involved in any of this. This is a service that's provided. Now, you might not know how to use it. And again, this is where we come in with our services and growth. And, we can certainly put some expertise and a nice kind of sheen on top of it. But these are some really, really great tools. And, dip your toes into it. Give it a try. There's some really, really powerful stuff here in the Google Analytics. Another tool that we use is Google's Search Engine Console. And what's really great about this is it's going to give you the actual queries. You can see here, this is what people are putting into Google that's bringing them to your site. So that you hear a lot about SEO and keyword optimization. This is going to be your first step. And these types of tools also exist for some of the other platforms. So for example, for Bing, there's like the Bing Webmaster tool that it looks kind of the same, but Google, of course, being, the kind of big monster in this space, this is one of the tools you want to be using. And this is also one of the tools we use in our growth services, is exactly this, looking at the keywords, right? So for right now, people are putting in La Barba Coffee, as you would expect. And that's the big thing in bringing everybody to the site. And that's exactly what you want. But what else is bringing people to the site, right? Breakfast tacos. Awesome. I don't even know you guys sell breakfast tacos, right? But this is a great way to kind of also reverse engineer. Like if you're seeing like one of your specific brands or one of your specific types of coffee in here, and you see it started going up the charts here in this table, that makes you realize, okay, great. What I'm doing is working. My tactics are working because people are using the keywords and going to those pages. And what's really great, again, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Search Console, is okay, well, somebody typed La Barba breakfast tacos. Well, where is that taking them? Like, what does that give to this person? You can see what pages are being yielded from that search. So when somebody's typing in breakfast tacos, well, what do you know? There is this La Barba coffee breakfast taco. So what first may seem kind of weird and esoteric is leading to an actual page. So this is where using that search engine console lets you figure out the right keywords, get the right keywords onto your site, onto your pages, and you can kind of track if the content is bringing you the traffic that you want. And Thomas, you want to talk to us about the breakfast
Yeah,
taco?
I was just gonna say, yeah. Well, the breakfast tacos are great. They're Austin style breakfast tacos. We make everything, including tortillas, from scratch, but we cannot ship them. But what that tells is a story. That list of search queries tells a story that we have a lot of traffic from people who are somewhat local, people who are in our area. And so that also, and I gives me a sense, and it helps me to shape and understand that, this growth that we want to have with people purchasing our coffee online from outside of the state of Utah, basically people who can't drive to our cafe and get a breakfast taco. There's a strategy that we need to come up with. There's keywords that we need to make sure we're able to capture when those people who are not local looking for the local thing are searching. And so anyways, even that alone just kind of gives me a greater sense of clarity into here's who's coming, who's landing on our site, here's who's searching for our site, and how do we get it to be more of some of the other people that we want to capture as well.
Yeah, and in terms of our process, we meet weekly with Thomas and we give him reports, right? We use what we just showed you, the Google Analytics reports. We use these Search Engine Console reports, right? These are tools that we have in our coffers to say, hey, this is what's happening on your site. How can we tweak accordingly? You don't want to go to your site and just randomly start changing things. That's not going to help you. I mean, I guess you could, but you're not going to know what it means. And it takes time. Remember, this is a process. You're going to tweak a couple keywords and it's going to take some time. So Google Analytics, GA4, and Search Engine Console, two super important tools to have from a reporting standpoint. The next obvious question is some people ask is well, how do I know what keywords to use, right? How do I know what keywords are working or my competitors are working? And there's a really great tool, and this is part of something we offer as part of our growth package, is this tool called SEMrush. And this is one of the services that we provide. And so this tool allows us to go in and really do audits on the site in terms of what do the pages look like, right? Is there enough content? Is all of the CRO things that we're doing, is it bringing back positive results? You can see here we've got a 95% site health. which is basically saying like, hey, the quality of the pages, the quality of the site is really, really high because we've gone in, done all the different conversions and everything. And you can see here, there's no errors on the site. There's nothing there to kind of worry about. There's always weird little warnings that aren't necessarily things of any concerns. These are the big issues here, are these errors. So this tool here, the SEMrush tool, is one of those tools that we utilize that allows us to go in, allows us to make changes on the site, see how our changes are doing. But most importantly, it allows us to go in and do a lot of keyword researching. And this is the big tool that says, okay, well, what keywords are working? What are competitors using? And you're able to see what it looks like. So for example, for La Barba Coffee, what kind of a search volume is out there? These are tools that are going to Google, looking at all the stats inside of Google and bringing you back some really, really great information. So for example, the La Barba Coffee keyword specifically, this is how much search volume it's getting. This is, how much traffic to expect. So you can start putting in different keywords, searching for different keywords and seeing if there's enough search volume to be something you want to go after. So for example, like if I was to look at some of the search volume here, like this is a pretty low search volume, right? So if we were going to put some tactics around, hey, should we try to make the La Barba coffee menu specifically, right? That very specific chain of keywords, should we be trying to put that on the site more? Should we be trying to surround ourselves? Well, it's a pretty low search volume, so there's not a lot there. But if we look at La Barba Coffee, right, you can see it has a much higher search volume. So you can use these different keywords to see how much volume is out there in Google, in the Google world, who's searching for it, and it'll help you figure out what keywords to start putting into the site. And when I say putting into the site, that basically means like, okay, if a lot of people are searching for it, let's make sure it shows up on your site. And so that way, when somebody does a Google search and we go back to this other tool, eventually those keywords that you're trying to add to the site are going to start showing up in here. So the two products are really correlated, right? You want to research the keywords. You want to be able to say, hey, what are people looking for? What do people want? And this is a really powerful tool. This is definitely one, and it's really deep. We could spend forever on it. We're kind of coming close to the end here, but there's a lot of really great tools. By being able to click in, you can see just regular search engine analysis on it. Who are other tools using it? In this case, you can see that LaBarba's own very specific domain is out there, right? It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, Yelp, right? He's doing all the right things. So this is a great tool and something that we definitely utilize to do that analysis. So if you are going to be doing anything we just talked about, any kind of SEO work or anything, you don't want to do it necessarily kind of randomly or willy-nilly. You really want to utilize some kind of a tool or something to make sure you have the right keywords, right? It doesn't make sense for you to stuff your site. For Thomas, he's not going to put a bunch of information about, HVAC because that's not his business. So you want to find the right keywords correlated to coffee in that very specific industry. So that's a really, really important part about all of this, is to be smart and do it tactfully, so you can get the best results for it. So we are coming to the end of this particular webinar. I just want to kind of check. I know if you do have any last minute questions or anything specific, let's get them in here in the last 5 minutes. Let's get them into the Q&A box. Of course, I want to do just a plug for the La Barba site here. Again, it was our pleasure. We're continuing to work with Thomas. We're a little bit biased, but we think he's got a great looking site. A great looking site. All of the CRO tactics and everything we talked about are on the site. So it's definitely a pleasure, for us to be working with you. Patrick, I'll just again just want to check real quick before we kind of get into the wrap up mode here. Any questions or anything that has popped up before
No other
we?
questions? No.
Okay.
Thanks for everyone for participating. We did get a handful of questions. Some I answered directly, some I think we addressed during the chat. But just one other little tip or something to mention that I think is useful information. Every industry, every type of product kind of has its own benchmark in terms of what a good conversion rate might be. So that's just something that, for the folks that are joining us today, I would encourage you to do a little bit of research to kind of see where you stand in terms of what the typical average or good conversion rate is, because it can help you determine where you should focus your time, right? Are you kind of in that range of a good conversion rate? Maybe it's time to focus on getting more traffic to the website. Or, are you not quite where you want to be? Make some changes to the site. Or if you're just starting out fresh, step one, get traffic to the website and understand what your conversion rate actually is, and then kind of recalibrate what you're doing from there. But just something we always look at when we meet with new clients, new merchants. Where should you be in terms of conversion rate, and then we can kind of decide the tact that we want to take in terms of best next steps.
Awesome. Great insight, Patrick. Really appreciate it. We want to thank again Thomas. He has created a discount code. So all of this talk about gourmet coffee, we realize has probably whet people's appetites. So Thomas has been very nice. I'll let you kind of talk about the discount code here that you created for us.
Yeah, we made a discount code, just simply Sunrise at checkout, 20% off all of our coffee. Good for the next week. Check something out. Yeah, hope you enjoy a bit of our coffee.
And that's just labarba.com. Go to the site, 20% off. Patrick can attest to the fact that he loves the coffee. I know he's been talking about it a lot.
I would have had a cup if I hadn't drank it all already. So
there you go. And then for those of you who, again, we've piqued your interest about doing some of this work, please feel free to go over to our Sunrise integration website, go to the contact form. We'd love to hear from you. We do have different packages. There's a grow package, there's there's a support package, there's a grow package. It's all part of what we call our Shopify success plans. We're able to kind of tailor it all the way up to full enterprise package for some of our larger clients. But everything that we just talked about, the SEO, the CRO, all that kind of fun stuff is definitely things that we can do, and we can tailor a package that makes sense for you specifically. So definitely please pop over to the Sunrise integration site and hit the contact link, and chances are you'll be getting an email response from Patrick. So if you want to talk to Patrick, you'll definitely be getting that. As always, want to plug for the next webinar that we're going to be doing. We're always very excited about what we call our Shopify OT, our Shopify open training sessions. We do those every Friday. They're free. They're a lot shorter than this. They're about 30 minutes. And we talk about very, kind of high level topics on the Shopify side of things. Pop in and out anytime you want. Really kind of simple events. And simple kind of training sessions. So pop over to our website. You can see a list of all the different topics. We got a whole new host coming up for the October timeframe. So that's it. With that said, again, Thomas, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be working, continually working with La Barba Coffee. Really thank you for being part of this webinar. And Patrick and Justin, thank you so much for taking part out of your day to help us. I'll give you the last word, Thomas.
Yeah, thanks so much to Sunrise. Our next steps forward all come out of this. So we've had one season of kind of capturing some low hanging fruit, and now I'm going to start blogging. Which with previous folks I've worked with, they were throwing a blog on our website, and I thought, isn't that really like circa 2000? Like I should be downloading Napster tunes and blogging. Like isn't that a little old? But you all have explained and articulated the ways in which that has a relevance to SEO, and also have given me the terms and kind of the guidelines on, hey, here's how to take advantage of that SEO capacity of blogging. So it's really nice to have a next step forward, and not just have this sense that I have a website, it's out there, it's working, and I hope and cross my fingers it makes money. Having a step forward is a really nice thing. I've got mine. If you all are watching this, I'd encourage you to figure out a next step, because you've got to do something to keep the thing going, and crossing your fingers. We did that for years. It's a lot better to have a plan.
Cool. Thank you so much, Thomas. We
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate it. We hope to see you guys on the next one. Have a great day.